All right, guys, welcome back. So what do we got today? Oh boy, more caliber wars. All right, so we did a previous video on firing through car windshield and basically how bullet technology has changed and why the 9mm is becoming popular once again, and coming from an era where 40 cal was kind of dominant in law enforcement. And we tried to illustrate the reasons why the 40 cal did sort of rise to dominance or popularity, and why the 9mm at that time did struggle. Also, we showed how bullet technology has changed and is allowing the 9mm now to essentially do what only the 40 cal was. Now, a lot of folks obviously ruffled some feathers. Some folks didn't like that. It is what it is. The intent of the video was to show how the bullet technology has changed, to illustrate why the 9 had struggled and why the 40 had really kind of rose to dominance. So in this video, what we're hoping to see is, one, we want to see how does this new 9mm Ranger service bonded jacket hollow point 147gr+p, how does this perform through barriers, that's what it's designed for. We saw our HST perform quite well. So we'd like to see how does this bonded bullet compare to that HST round, since HST is my preferred loading. It's kind of one of the gold standards out there. But for service use, this one's looking like it might be pretty good. So we want to see just how it holds up through the windshield, what kind of penetration we get, and our 40 cal. So we brought out a modern jacket hollow point. This is the HST 165 grain. When I was issued 40 cal, this was actually the last duty round we were issued. We were issued Ranger SXT, Gold Dot, and then HST, all in 165 grain. I put this over the chronograph, and this is the full power stuff. This is not a reduced velocity load. Out of this HK.USP with a factory HK threaded barrel, we're getting about 1,170 feet per second. It's definitely warm, and you definitely know when you're firing it that it's full power. There's a noticeable difference in recoil between these two. So the USP is one of my favorite 40 cal handguns. I've had this one for quite a long time, I think 20 years now, almost anyway. And when I use 40 cal, this was one of my favorites. Generally we carried SIGs, but if I had a choice, this would have probably been it at the time. It's definitely my favorite polymer frame 40 caliber. It's one of the first 40 caliber pistols designed from the ground up as a 40 cal. It was not an existing 9mm design that they just tried to beef up. And it took features from the, I believe it was the Mark 23 project with SOCOM, where they developed that ginormous Desert Eagle size 45. That became the Mark 23. They took some of the features and technology they got out of that project and incorporated in the USP, and it really is an excellent duty gun, especially as a 40 cal. It really is an excellent 40. So that's what we're going to be firing the 40 through. So we're definitely going to see what, like I said, this is full powered HST, so we're definitely going to see what it has to offer, and hopefully we'll see that this bonded Ranger 147 grain plus P, hopefully it performs at least as well as HST. I'd hate to see it not to, considering it's a bonded bullet. But that's what we're going to do next. We're going to fire these through the windshield. We're going to try to measure a penetration depth. So I'll go ahead and show you the setup, and we'll get this going. All right, so here's the setup. We have our windshield angled back at 45 degrees. We won't be firing off from the side like the protocol, just because the curvature in the glass and the way I'd have to try to set, I just won't be able to set this up to do that. So we're going to take a frontal shot, which is also still a part of the protocol. But it's okay, because we're going to be firing the same way with both guns, just like last time. We have our water jugs set up approximately 18 inches behind the windshield. These water jugs are approximately 5 inches thick, and typically what I see is 1.5 times penetration in these jugs. That's what I would see in ordnance gel. And so what we're looking for is around that at least penetrates into jug 4. Preferably we'd like to see a dent put on the back of jug 4, so we know we got all the way through. If we go over that, no big deal. The main thing is that we get into this jug preferably with a dent. That's really the main takeaway from this as far as penetration is concerned. We do have an extra behind it just in case, and we have a catch box just in case we blast through all of these. I don't suspect we'll do that, but hey, you never know. It's also surrounded these, so if anything tries to squirt out the side, hopefully we won't lose anything. Let me show you the windshield real quick. I know it's shot up because it's the same one from last time. We've done a decent amount of testing with it. Well, what I've done is I found an area on the windshield that is not cracked. So I'm shooting basically a solid square of glass, if you would. So we're not going to fire through a crack. I've marked it, and I'll do the same thing for both calibers. I'll just find wherever that is, mark it out, and we'll send it through. So sorry I don't have a pristine windshield, but there's just not much I can do. I don't have, 100 windshields lying around. This will have to do for now. I do know what the manufacturer data suggests the HST should be. I don't have any data for the +P Ranger bonded. I do for the standard version. So I have an idea of what this should do. Well, we'll see if it actually meets that. All right, let's get it going. First up will be the 9mm. Looks like a good shot. Let's go check it out. All right, just so you could see the hit where it was. You can see that this glass was cracked like this, so I wanted to stay inside that solid square, and we did. We should have ample room over here for the 40. We'll figure it out. I'll make sure, but I don't see any issue with that. So let's go ahead and check out what we got. Well, looks like we had very little deviation, kind of in a theme. Jug 1, 2, 3. I see 4 leaking. We actually have a crack on the bottom of 4. I don't see the bullet. Okay, let me look around. It might have actually got out of 4. It looks like it traveled down at the very end of its travel, which is not surprising. You see that quite often. But let me look around and see if I can find that. Well, I was getting a little worried there, but I did find it. It came out of jug 4, bounced off of 5, just kind of bing, 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 back and forth, and fell right between the table, right between the cracks. So I guess it's better it went there than bouncing out the side or something. Anyway, I don't see any fragments on the table or anything. It is pretty well squished up, but it held together quite well. Still got good shank on the bullet. Jacket's still intact. So yeah, overall looks pretty darn good. We exceeded the standard we wanted to see on penetration, so that's a good thing. It looked like we went in the first 2 jugs fairly straight, and then it started angling downward, probably just due to the way the fluid is acting on the different angles that have been created from penetrating that windshield. And it penetrated the downward angle, eventually exiting out of 4, bouncing off of 5, and there it is. So I will give weights and measurements all at the end, but let's go ahead. I got to find a spot on the windshield, and let's get the 40 cal rolling. All right, I don't know if you can see this, but we're going to be going for this spot right here. We've marked it and lined it up, and our fractures are around it. So the area the round's going to actually be impacting is not through a crack. Same thing we had with the 9mm, so we want to keep this as fair as possible. This will be our 40. Okay, I see some deviation off to the side. Hip looked good. Hopefully it stopped in one of the jugs I was flanking. Let's go check it out. All right. Come on. All right, I'm gonna have to look for it. Okay, well, we lucked out. It stopped in jug 4, one of the flanking jugs. So it went in, and I don't feel anything on the back side. Jug 3, just right here. Yeah, it started deviating left. So it didn't have a full, dang it, didn't have a full pass through on jug 3. And it didn't make it to the back of 4. Well, it still made it in, so odds are we would have made it into 4. But let me dig that out and see what it looks like. Here's our HST. Everything held together really well. Looks good overall. It looks quite similar to actually where our 9mm kind of looked like, except there's not as much shank on this because it's a 165 grain compared to that 147 grain. But it looks good. Just a little unsure about the penetration depth. It seems like we would have got into 4. But because of the way it deviated, tell you what, I'm going to look around. I got to see if I have enough material. I'm going to find another spot on that windshield. We're going to do this one more time because I don't want us to be left wondering, so to say. Let's try this one more time. I think I saw another spot on the windshield. We can make this happen. I found another section right here. Again, bullets shouldn't be touching anything. Got to kind of do this quick because of what I had to do. So I'm running out of jugs, and I don't want to change the jug type. I want to keep it set up the same. So what I've done, these two jugs were at the end of the travel on other tests I've done. They only had smaller holes in them. So I filled them back up, wrapped them in some tape, and then turned them so the portions of the jug we're firing through are uncompromised. So that way we have the same jug, so we can't say that it was because of a different jug, it altered penetration depths. So we're going to hurry up and hit this one more time. Hopefully we don't get any deviation out the side, and yeah, we'll see how it shakes out. Let's hope for the best, because I don't think we have anything after this. All right, let's go see. Okay, we had a pretty good center hit. Yep. And we're starting to deviate a little. Oh, big deviation there once we got to the back of the third jug. Now that's similar to the 9mm, just we went down and not to the left. But that happens when these rounds get deformed. They're just the way the fluids start interacting with them. So we did exit 3. We made it, looks like we made it into 4. And yeah, I feel a dent over here on the back. So that time, yeah, okay, we're there. We're where we need to be. Let me make sure. Yeah, okay, bullets in there. All right, let me dig it out and we'll see what it looks like. Looks like once again it held together pretty well. Flattened out a little more than the last time. Yeah, so that looks pretty good. Overall, penetration was adequate, so but yeah, let's go ahead and take this back to the tailgate and wrap this up. All right, so before we go any further, I want to show you guys something. So this is the 4th jug on shot 2 with the 40 cal. And you can see it was traveling fairly straight up until it got to about the 3rd jug, and then it started deviating a little, and by the time it got to jug 4, it had deviated off a good inch or so. About an inch. By the time it got to the back of jug 4, it had deviated all the way to the left of the jug. As you can see, it was trying to come out right there, but couldn't make it out. So the 9mm deviated downward in kind of the same fashion towards the end of the travel. Just it went downward, and this one went left. So if you turned it that way, kind of the same thing. All right, so enough of that. All right, let's weigh these up real quick before we actually talk about what we got going on. Shot 1, 40 cal, 165 starting out, 162-ish ending up. Shot 2, there we go, 155. So 162, I just hang on one sec. Okay, I had a little breeze blowing, it kind of skipped. So we're looking at actually 161 and 155. So what, 4 grains and basically 10 grains. So yeah, for a non-bonded bullet, that's pretty good. Let's check the bonded bullet, see if any of it's different. 136 roughly, so about 130. There's a little breeze blowing, guys, so give or take a grain here. 136, 137, so about 10 grains. So looks like we're losing about the same amount of mass. It's probably just when that bullet goes through the windshield, it just basically shears off the nose somewhat, and it looks like we're actually losing about the same amount. That's kind of interesting, but it is what it is. So 165 starting out, 155 and 161-ish, 2-ish finishing out, 147 starting out, and about 137-ish finishing out. All right, so let's talk about this for a bit. What's the takeaways here? Well, first of all, I think a lot of people misunderstood what I was trying to show in the first video. The first video was demonstrating the issues the 9mm had early on and the strengths the 40 had early on. It then demonstrated the reasons why the 9mm is returning in popularity. That's all the video was. It wasn't in any way supposed to say the 40 cal is ineffective. I even said that in the video. However, even though the 40 cal proved exactly the reason why there was a transition early on, people felt that the 40 cal I used was not 40 cal enough. For some reason, a genuine California Highway Patrol issued Smith & Wesson 4006 wasn't enough 40 cal. They were one of the first major agencies to adopt the 40 caliber, so given that we were kind of doing old school testing, kind of made it appropriate to use an old school 40 cal. But anyway, okay, I hear you. Some people also claim, well, you didn't use modern bullet tech, and that somehow that modern bullet tech would have somehow performed significantly better than the older bullet tech 40. Now, in some ways, it has better attributes, but let's understand what it was that was actually going on. So first of all, I brought out the old HK.USP 40 with the extended HK barrel, polygonal rifling. So we gave this round every bit of velocity that you're probably going to get from a service pistol. We used a full power 165 grain HST. So for you energy guys, this is a stout loading for 40 cal for duty use. It's a modern bullet. It's a modern constructed bullet. We used the HST 9mm in the last one to kind of show how this is a modern constructed bullet. I'm not sure what more there is to show here other than in those statements I basically made the claim that I didn't use a modern bullet because there wasn't a need to, because it's going to do the same thing as the 9mm. You're just going to have a slightly bigger bullet. So let's understand what was the technology, the technology for the 9mm and the 40 is the same. The same technology goes into the guns, and the end result is the same because the engineers are trying to achieve the same thing. They just had to come about it from two different directions, and what they were trying to get the 40 to do and what they were trying to get the 9mm to do. Now, what they were trying to get the 9mm to do was actually more important, which is why you usually see 9mm being the first off the lot, so to say, with new technology, and that is not underpenetrate after striking barriers. With the 40 cal, what they were trying to do is get more consistent penetration in terms of not necessarily under penetration, but bringing it back a bit for instances where bullets didn't expand that well and other things of that nature. And of course, the older bullets, that happen. So the goal of the technology is to achieve 1.5 times caliber expansion. That's kind of the target, the butter zone, if you would. If you go over, that's fine. If you come below, that's fine, as long as it's not under penetrating. That's what they try to achieve. And then they are trying to achieve the penetration depths between 12 and 18 inches in calibrated ordnance gel. In an ideal world, you'd have 1.5, hell, you have 2 times expansion, and every round would penetrate to 15 inches. That would be probably the ultimate as far as conventional ammunition would go for a law enforcement service caliber handgun. What we end up with is, typically speaking, we hit the 1.5 time caliber ratio. Now, going through auto glass, that's all bets are off. You just have no idea how the bullet's actually going to do it. That's all we're looking for at this point, is mass penetrating, and all of these have more than sufficient mass penetrating to a sufficient depth to be effective. But basically, that's all there was to it. They were making the 40 cal expand more reliably and penetrate within that butter zone more consistently. And they were doing the same thing with the 9mm, just coming at it from 2 different directions. At the end, we end up with roughly the same performance. So some people said that you should use a premium round. I basically said, well, there wasn't much point because you would end up with similar performances and adequate penetration with a more intact bullet. It's exactly what we ended up with. So what is the overall takeaway from this? Well, it's simple. If you're carrying a 40 cal or a 9mm, particularly if you're carrying the 9mm, choose a medium to heavyweight premium projectile and worry about shot placement. Because at the end of the day, that's really what's going to make the difference here. These are service caliber handguns. They punch holes. That's all they do. As long as the hole is being punched deep enough, it's all about penetration, shot placement becomes the most important factor. Stop with the innuendos. All right, so what is my takeaway on this? Well, it's simple. When I was carrying HST as a duty round, I didn't worry about it. It was good ammo. Would I carry this Ranger bonded plus P 147 grain based on the testing I previously did, which I'll link in the video below, and based on the testing here? Yeah, if I was a duty weapon, pistol caliber carbine, MP5, you'll have to check the video out to see exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, I would carry this. I would see no issue with this whatsoever. So that's the takeaway, guys. It really doesn't matter. Just place your shots where they're supposed to be. That's the important part. All right, guys, I know not everyone's going to agree with me. I know you're going to let me hear it. And I don't mind you letting me hear it. Just I know sometimes the comments will keep coming up about the same thing. And I know guys aren't reading comments and they're just inserting their question that everyone else has already asked. So bear with me on that. But at any rate, if you haven't already done so, please like and subscribe, share the video. It helps the channel out. Go ahead, comment down below. I know you're going to. But as always, I do appreciate the comments, but please keep the comments professional. I'll see you guys next time.